What's going on, guys? We're back, Faith Wave Podcast. I'm super excited for this episode, and it's been trying to get me to have more relationship podcasts. It's kind of hard when there's not many Christian couples, but we got a very special episode. First off, we have my fiance Anna here.
Yes.
She's joining us, and then we have a very special guest. We have my friend Matthew and his girlfriend. Matthew, would you guys like introducing yourselves and telling a little bit about yourselves, and then we can get into how you guys met.
Okay.
Sweet. My name is Matthew. This is my girlfriend Maite. She hails from the great land of California.
Yeah.
I was born and raised here in Guyman. But yeah, do you want to say anything about yourself?
I'm from Southern California, and yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you guys meet? I don't even know this. I don't know how you guys met. I don't know that whole story. So if you guys don't mind sharing with us how you guys met.
No problem. Okay, I'll start it because she has an older sister, and she lived here in Guyman, and so she got really close with my family through gymnastics. So she kind of was the whole time was just saying hey, I have this little sister back in California. She loves horses and stuff, and I grew up in that lifestyle. So I was like, no, she's from California. She's probably crazy or something. But that went on for like 2 years or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what she was telling you back at home.
Well, she didn't tell me anything, but yeah, she actually didn't tell me anything about him being here. But one time she posted a story, and it was of Matthew in the background. It was literally of my nieces. It wasn't even of Matthew, but he grabbed the ball for my niece. I guess they're playing toss or something. And I was like, oh, how cute, Oklahoma boys, literally as a joke. I just saw him in the background, it was literally a joke. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's Matthew. I know his family. She was literally setting me up as I literally just said a comment. And from there, it's kind of when it started.
Yeah, so she followed me first, right?
Yeah, I did.
I followed her back.
Well, she sent me Matthew's Instagram. So I told her that, and she was like, here's his Instagram, go follow him. And I was like, I'm not going to follow him. I don't know him. That's so awkward. She's like, he knows who you are. Follow him. So I did. I did follow him.
So I followed her back, and then, I don't know, a while later, I actually sent her a reel. And it was just some stupid horse thing. I was like, has this ever happened to you? And she was like, haha, yes, it did. I was like, my name's Matthew, whatever, her name. And then we talked for 12 hours, just one day. And then we just ghosted each other from that for a whole year.
Yeah.
For a year?
Well, because I was I'm not going to text him back. He has to text me. I'm the girl. And then I didn't. So I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, so that went on. We didn't text each other for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
And then I go to college, and then she has a platform on Instagram. So she was just posting a lot, and I would see her, and it was just some fun. It's the video's pinned on our Instagram, but I commented on it just out of it. I was like, it's worth a shot. So I commented on it just to see what would happen, and then she saw my comment. She commented on my comment, and it was just some funny pickup line or something. And I guess it picked it up.
It was bold. He didn't send a DM first. He literally commented on a post, and I looked and I was like, what is this kid doing back? I'm it's been a whole year. It was so funny.
Yeah.
But I was excited at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So we commented, and then I took it to the DMs, and we talked a little bit in the DMs, and then the next day I was just like, do you like talking on Instagram? And then without asking for a number, she just gave me her number. So we started texting.
Because I knew what you were doing. I was like, he wants my phone number.
She didn't waste any time.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
Oh, cool. So you said she had a platform. Whenever you first talked to her that first time, did she still have a platform? Or whatever?
She did. She had quite a pretty big following.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. So how have things been now ever since you guys, I guess the first question is, how long have you guys been together for now?
Almost
10 months. In 5 days, it'll be 10 months.
10 months?
Yeah,
oh,
10
wow.
months. Yeah, so after we were talking on messages, I was like, well, I might as well. I got to meet her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to expect her to come here. So I booked a plane ticket after 2.5 weeks of talking.
Oh, cool.
So I went and visited her 5 weeks after first texting her.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I asked her to be my girlfriend. So we've been almost talking for a year.
Oh, wow.
But we've been dating for almost 10 months.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I know this might be a question that people will have is the distance. It's such, I mean, from here to California, it's such a long distance. Is that hard for you guys?
Very.
It was very hard.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, I underestimated it a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I was
But
like,
I feel like with the right person, it's so worth it at the same time.
yeah.
Because it's like, once you like find somebody that you're compatible with too, like it's valuable at that point. It's not just for fun, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And my one of my older brothers did long distance.
Oh, really?
And they got married. But then another one of my brothers did long distance, and they did not get married.
Oh.
I was like, meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And it is.
And it's been good. That's
really
good.
good.
Have you guys had challenges with that though? I mean, any
Yeah, it was
challenges
definitely
that-
a learning curve.
Yeah.
Because it's not traditionally dating at all. It's like we actually have talked about it. It's like once we were together, it was weird because we had almost nothing to talk about, because I would say like 5 minutes on the phone is equivalent to just an hour in person.
Yeah.
So we've like spent a lot of time
Right.
together.
Uh-huh.
Just on like an hour on the phone is like a couple of days of spending time with each other.
That makes sense.
Like it's just straight emotionally,
Uh-huh.
spiritually, and like verbally, like talking to each other. It's
Right.
no physically. And we would FaceTime, you'd get to see each other, but other than that, it's like,
Yeah. I understand that, because I would say the same thing, that a lot of the times when you're talking on the phone, you could be like, oh, wow, we talked about everything. We're not going to have anything to talk about in real life. And then whenever you meet in person, it's just, oh, what am I going to talk about now? I feel like I've already had everything to talk about.
But
And
one plus I think is like you get very emotionally like safe with someone, because it's like I got to talk to him so much of just like talking. Like it was not physical at
Right.
first. It was literally just emotional. So you just get like, you feel so close to someone without
Yeah.
being close.
Yeah.
It's super weird, but it's like cool.
That makes sense. And then there's almost this expectation now, once you've had so much talking over the phone and you've grown so much emotionally with them, that you're like, oh, what if it's weird whenever we're in person? It's gonna be so awkward.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My biggest fear meeting her for the first time was not that. It was that she was going to be taller than me.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That
Yeah,
was
that
his fear.
was my
That
biggest
was his fear.
But, like, there was a word, like, well, what are we going to talk about? We've already talked about everything. But to be honest, like, we didn't really have that problem, though.
No.
Like, we really just, like,
We
talked
like
and-
immediately just like clicked when we saw each other too.
Yeah.
I immediately felt like comfortable with him, and I was nervous, but then I was like, this is weird, I'm so comfortable.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, because that could be a really scary thing. I know that happened with me. Was we talked so much over the phone and got so close over the phone and committed to so much over the phone that we're like, oh, what if it's in person and it's weird?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you
That's
guys
gonna be-
did long distance kind of for
Yeah.
a
Like,
while.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not as long as you guys, but
yeah.
like an hour.
And it was hard for us to see each other too, just given the circumstances. We couldn't really see each other, so we would just talk on the phone a lot.
Yeah.
FaceTime and all that good stuff that we had to do at first. A question for you guys now, though, because you said that it all started over the phone. How did you know that God was leading you guys to each other just over an emotional, relationship over the phone? Like, how did you know, okay, it's time to move forward, and having not in a weird way, but like having so many more options like around here, like how are you like, okay, like we're going to commit to this long distance thing, like from just over the phone?
Right. I guess I'll go first. Well, like you said, it was like just a strictly emotional connection, but I was really actually mostly connected to her with her like spiritually, because we talked on the phone, but it was mostly about like spiritual things. Like we started praying together right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, and that was something like we just brought up, and we fell in love with each other over the phone first.
Right.
And like spiritually, like we prayed together a lot. We talked about God and stuff, just sharing like our stories with each other. Like I really felt like I found someone that I connected with them spiritually first, more than like physically.
Right.
Before I even met her.
Yeah.
I was like, if she's like this in person, then there's no hesitation.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would say the same thing, because that's how I was with Anna at first. It was, man, this can't go wrong because the Lord is into this so much. Like, there's no denying that the Lord is in this. I've never met somebody who has this love for the Lord. One of the first things she told me was music. That was one thing that just kind of set each other apart, because I think you can tell a lot about, it's weird, but I think you can tell a lot about somebody by what they listen to. And since I knew so much music that she liked, worship music that she liked, she was like, okay, like he must be actually into this thing. And I don't know, maybe you can share a little bit of that through your point of view and your eyes of how that kind of set it apart.
Yeah, because I mean, all my friends from back home, like, none of them knew the same songs I knew. And it was a small town, so, like, they knew, like, older worship songs, but no one really knew, like, the songs. And music is, like, a really big part of, like, my faith and journey and everything. And so that was one of the first things that we had talked about was music and, like, the sermon videos. We would talk about those a lot. And he was, like, one of the first people I've met from, like, Oklahoma since I moved in with my dad that, like, shared the same interests with the same people that I like to listen to and stuff. So it was like, oh.
And you talk to so many people and you try to get them to talk about that stuff with you, but some people just don't know enough about it. And that means that they're not really about it. And whenever you find somebody who really is, you're like, oh, okay, this is different. Like, this has to work because the Lord is in this.
And it just, like, flows when you're talking to them. Like, especially with Matthew too, like, when we first started talking early on, I just felt like our values were so aligned. And, like, when we would talk, I would just feel like it was so natural. And, like, we just valued, like, the same things. And, like, what you were saying with, like, about having different people around you and, like, why would you choose the distance? Like, because Matthew was actually my first boyfriend ever, and long distance, which is literally crazy. But, like, I don't know, for me, I never got into a relationship with someone because the moral values that I valued were never there. And so, like, meeting him, it was, like, immediate. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a weird, like, spin-off, but especially being in California, you know, there's I hear so many like, I don't want to get political or anything, but liberal things about California.
That was my biggest, like, immediate, like, turn off. I was scared. Like, that was I was like, when she was telling me about, like, her little sister, I was like, she's a horse girl. There's stereotypes behind that, and she's from she's from California, so she's probably has, like, pink hair. No, but that was half joking.
And you mentioned prayer earlier. You said that was really important for you guys to start out with prayer. What does prayer have? Like, what place does prayer have in your guys' relationship?
A pretty high priority.
Yeah, very high.
Because, like, to be honest, like, we can tell when we're not praying enough. And, like, when we're not, because you always say with your partner that if you guys are Christians, like, let's prioritize God in our relationship. But then, like, we went through a couple phases where we wanted to do that so much, but we didn't really know how at first. We would just, us prioritizing God in our relationship was just us saying it. There wasn't too much depth to it. So then we really got together and we're like, okay, if we're really going to do this, how are we going to prioritize God? So we were like, okay, let's, like, write things down, like, reading our Bible together. And, like, over the phone, and praying with each other, and really asking God to come into this relationship.
Well, I agree, yeah. And we always made it a priority because we're so far away to pray before we went to sleep. That was always something that we really valued. Like, even if the other person was, like, gone or, like, busy and, like, I was about to go to sleep or he was about to go to sleep, you know, if you're somewhere, you just step out and you make time because it's a priority.
And we're 2 hours apart.
Yeah, that was really difficult, the 2 hour difference.
Because I had to get up, like, at 7:20, and that's 5:20 her time. So I was going to bed. Sometimes I would go to bed really late, but
Matthew's sleep schedule is my fault. Like,
because it would be like 11 o'clock her time, and it'd be 1 in the morning my time. So I'm like, I need to go to bed, and then so she would have to step out of, like, dinner while I'm going to bed and stuff like that. But that like shows the priority that we put it on. And there'd be days like we would mess up. But the funny thing is we could track it back down to that, because the next day, like, we would be, like, short with each other or like something like that. We would stuff would get on our like hurt our feelings
Yeah.
more. And we could always just track it down to like, okay, we're not reading our Bibles together. We're not
Yeah.
praying together. We're not, putting God first and then each other first.
Right.
And I feel like that's something too, like if you're building a relationship on God, the moment you take him out, it fails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not doing it on your own anymore. It's not on your terms. It's not your relationship. Like if you're not going to invite God in, like if you take him out, you just watch how it just falls
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. We've experienced a little rough patches also in our relationship where, obviously God was the center. And so whenever you take out something that was so crucial and is literally the foundation to your relationship, you can start to see how the enemy will like try to come in and stuff. And a lot of the times you'll get into fights and stuff. And that's the next question I want to ask is, we talked about this in our last episode, is how to deal whenever, because relationships aren't always sunshines and rainbows. Maybe for the first part of it, it is. The first part is, kind of like the, what you would call the honeymoon stage where everything's good, like you're trying to get to know each other and everything's like really good. And then there's times when, the enemy can actually strike and things can happen and you get upset with each other. That looks different in every relationship. So for you guys, has there been a time where you've already experienced like getting mad at each other or something little happened? And how do you go about that?
Right. Well, we're both human. So there's no denying our emotions.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I know we haven't been dating for too long, but we've definitely have experienced like some like hard times where emotions are high, things hurt our feelings, and especially being long distance, like those little things are now big things. Like maybe just telling them like I love you or whatever, or just like I appreciate you. That's something little that you experience here, like when you guys are traditionally dating. That's like that's a huge part of like a long distance relationship. So there's a time where we would like forget, and then it's just like when you're not constantly putting God first in your own life, then you allow yourself to like overthink. And then that was really the biggest hardest part, is like keeping yourself from overthinking. But when it's crazy being long distance, like when you're like arguing or there's a disagreement, it's like so tempting just like to hang up the phone. Not like it's kind of like I've never done that.
No, we don't do that. We actually don't do that. We don't do that.
No, but like there's no walking away because like you're like, we're really in this, so you're forced to just like almost sit in silence.
And you're forced to try to talk it out because you're on the phone.
Because there's no body language.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no like, it's all verbal, and if you're not good at using your voice inflections to tell you how you feel, then it's
That's one thing though, like Matthew's great at too, is he would always make sure to do the tiny little things that felt big. Like when you're so far away, like he'll be working and he'll call me for like 2 seconds and he's just like, hey, just want to tell you I love you. And that just like makes you feel like that person cares and they're really prioritizing you when they don't have to do that, and it could be that simple. But when you're that far away, like it truly makes a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah. But when it comes to like resolving like a disagreement, it's just like all it takes is just one person to put down their pride first, and then you can. It kind of shows the other person that like I'm done being selfish.
Right.
Like, so it makes it easier for the other person, to put down their pride.
Definitely.
Remember it's like one thing that I always remember is she would remind me and I would remind her, is like we're in this together. We're fighting the problem, not fighting each other because of the problem.
Yeah.
Like we're working together to fight the problem.
All right, we're going to transition into the next question, and Anna here is going to ask this one.
Okay, so with being like a young Christian couple, obviously there's a lot of worldly expectations put on that, especially with being like young. But what are some struggles that you guys have faced in that, and how have you
Overcome it.
have you overcame?
Yeah, so like I said, the last question, like we can't deny that we're human. So of course there's the cultural norm, and then there's the high expectation that us as Christians we hold for ourselves. And like, sure, there's been like, of course, you can't if you ask someone that question, they say, oh, they've never been tempted. You know they're lying. So of course there's been temptations, but we've been pretty good at stopping the temptation and really being honest with each other, and like not putting ourselves in a bad situation. And like that's how I was raised, is like that was a very heavy thing that my parents installed in me, is not to bend to the cultural norm.
I would say too, just to be so aware of who you're listening to, because if you're not being aware of what's feeding you, like if you're straying away from the word of God, everything else seems like a blur, and you're like not really sure like what your morals are anymore. So I would just say to like be really aware of like why you're doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and like she said, like that was the one question. It's like if we really don't want to fall down that dark and scary path that looks good from the outside, but it's really just hurts everyone in the end, then we really, like she would always tell me, like we have to remember why we're not doing that, because we know it's like against the word of God, and it's not honoring to ourselves and to each other and the way we were raised, and most importantly it's dishonoring to God. And that was one thing we really had to remember, and she would always remind me of that.
That's good. And I think that that's really important, is just actually making sure that the problem is in the light. It's not like hidden, you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, like just make sure that we know that it's a problem and not try to hide it as or mask it as if it's not a problem. I think that is what Mr. Anderson is really good at, that he like makes it clear. He says this is probably going to be a problem, and you know I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to hide it because it's weird. I'm going to tell you that this is a problem, and you're going to have to go through this, and you're going to have to decide how you're going to eventually overcome it.
You're right.
This is another question that we have, and it might be similar to what we've already asked, but how do you guys support each other in your spiritual growth, like individually?
Okay. Well, there's of course praying for each other, and I guess like holding the best interest in mind for the other person. We definitely, for me, I had a hard time prioritizing we would pray together and we would read our Bible together, but I always had to remember to read the Bible for myself. Like one thing she would always tell me is like, if you don't pursue God with all of your heart, you're like low-key hurting the other person too, because you're not fully there and fully spiritually mature for the other person. So it's the answer to that question, to support the other person, is to focus on yourself almost. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if I'm lacking in my own spiritual walk, then it's hindering her spiritual walk. Because we decided like we're in this together, we're chasing God together, hands together. So if I'm compromising my faith, then it's only leaving her behind, and it leaves her with an awkward decision. And it goes both ways.
I think too, like on the other hand of it, if he's having a hard day or if he's having a rough time, like he said, praying for each other, like really incorporating that into your day. If someone's like, you know, I'm really struggling with this right now, just making sure that you're thinking of them and prioritizing that and praying for them, because there's power in prayer. So just remembering to do that.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I like that. It's beneficial whenever you focus on yours, because then you can kind of help out the entirety of your relationship. But it's kind of harder whenever you focus on your relationship and try to water your own individual walk. So I would say that, you know, like you guys said, putting your individual walk with the Lord first would bleed into your togetherness and your relationship with Christ, for sure. Another question that we have is, this is one that I always think about, and I thank God that I'm so blessed to be able to find Anna so young. And that's a question that, you know, we want to ask you guys is what does it mean to you guys that the Lord has blessed you so young to, you know, to have somebody. I'll just kind of let you guys go off, and then
For me, I feel like it's like such a blessing, because You know, like, I feel like when you're young, you always wonder, like, I wonder if I'll ever find someone that truly, genuinely will love me for me and want to pursue God fully, you know? And so, like, meeting Matthew so young was just, like, it's like a surprise because you're not, like, you wouldn't expect it. Like, we are so young. And so you wouldn't even expect it. So I just feel like what you can do is just really prioritize your relationship with God and chase him. And, like, one thing we always said is, like, you're on your own race with God, and if you turn and you look and you see someone, you grab their hand and you go with them.
Yeah, that's what my dad always told me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, to the cultural norm, it's like the ages of dating and getting married is just pushing back.
Right.
Like now it's like, what is it, like 28 is the average age of getting married, and like 31 is the average age of having kids. Like 20 years ago, it was like 21 was the age of getting married or something like that. But we're definitely young. We both met each other when we were 18, but I feel like it's definitely a blessing because we get to grow with each other.
Right.
We're both like, the male mind doesn't mature completely until like 25. So she'll get to be with me through that whole time. So, but you really get to really learn each other and know each other in a deeper way if you start earlier.
Right.
So it's like the connection is stronger.
Yeah.
And then you get more time with each other.
Right.
Like we get to go through our whole 20s together and our 30s together. So it's definitely a blessing.
Yeah.
Definitely a blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you said, cultural norms, it's not normal. It's somebody.
It's not normal at all.
And so having that and people looking down almost on you for getting engaged or getting married or settling down super young is just, it's kind of not normal.
Right.
So that's weird, but I'm super thankful, and I thank God all the time for letting me meet Anna so young and just settling down almost so young. You know, obviously it's not like I was wild, but but just settling down in a sense of, you know, finding somebody who you look at your whole life with. And I think that it's such a blessing because it just closes your eyes to certain things that you might have got into if you didn't have that person. You know, like a lot of the college stage also, a lot of people are at college, you know, to like have fun and, you know, go to college to enjoy your time. You know, college is the best time of your life. But I think that whenever you have somebody who you are already set with, that time of having fun isn't any longer in your vision. You know, like now you're prioritizing getting married, strengthening your relationship with the Lord. You know, like what are we gonna do financially to be able to afford getting married and having kids and that stuff? Like that is now that age of having, you know, have fun at college isn't any longer there, and you're not even offered any distractions anymore. Like any distractions that you would have, you're focused on your goals now. Right.
Have you had anybody like actually look down upon you from you guys are getting married pretty young. Like you'll be 20 or 19.
I'll be 20. You'll be 20. We'll both be 20.
We'll both be 20. So
whenever we're
that
married.
like that's not normal now.
Yeah.
So how have you guys dealt with like people like? Have you had people like?
I don't think anyone's directly said like anything negative, but I mean, obviously there's people that have opinions about it.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that happens either way. Like my mom and my family is happy because, you know, like he said, like the college stage, like, you know, like I came from a Christian family, so obviously they're happy I'm not having a wild stage, I guess. So, I mean, it just depends, like, who, you know.
And that's something I was actually worried about. The question that you asked is, nobody really gets married this early anymore. And so it's kind of, I was scared people going to be like, oh, you're getting married so early? Like, why? You know, like, what are you going to do? Like, how do you know that this is the right one, this and that? That was something that I was scared of. I think I have had people like indirectly, you know, like say it and it's kind of just like whatever. But yeah, I definitely think that is, and a lot of people are happy. They're like, oh, that's so great for you. Like you're getting married early. That's really good. But there is those few who are just kind of like, you know, why?
Right.
You're too young, this, that. Like,
but it all comes back to like your morals, right? Because as like, we don't value that college
Yeah.
life. We don't desire it.
Right.
So there's no point in wasting so much time.
Yeah.
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 Like that stuff isn't attractive.
Yeah.
Especially if you're sorry to
No,
interrupt.
that's okay.
Especially if like you're looking for someone and they see
Right.
you living that kind of life. That's not gonna get you someone that
Right.
you're
Yeah.
actually desiring.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if you're just focusing on your walk with God and like that's your priority, God will love to send you someone that you can do that with. But if you're partying and doing all of
Yeah.
that, why would God send you someone?
Yeah.
You know? So, and I feel like too, the people who might think, why are you getting married so young? They're living a married life without
Right.
being married.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that value. So it's like, in our eyes, we're like, well, we're not being married. We're not playing married. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
married because we're choosing to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that it is hard for, like you said, for God to send you somebody whenever you're not focused on Him,
Right.
and you're focused on the worldly things. I think that that's something that I realized younger. Obviously in high school, I realized, okay, like if I want God to bless me with somebody, I can't do things that aren't in His will for me. Like I have to
Right.
focus on Him, and then He'll send me somebody. And I thought maybe it would be in 5 years, maybe it'll be in 10 years. And He blessed me a lot earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
So I honestly couldn't believe it whenever He did. And I was like, oh man, like it's so worth it now that I did
Yeah.
that. Like it's almost like you're sacrificing, and people think that you're sacrificing. It wasn't really a sacrifice for me, but it feels like to the people outside that you're sacrificing your younger years
Right.
of not having fun. But in reality, it makes it so much more worth it whenever
Yeah.
you
Right.
get what you actually wanted. And
And it's just like sugar-coated fun. Like all of that fun leaves you empty while
Yeah.
you're like growing a relationship with her and now going to be married. Like that's truly fun and that's truly beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, like these people partying and doing all of that, they're left empty.
yeah.
And wishing that they never did that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I just want to encourage like a bunch of people out there who are in that stage, like want to find somebody, want to be like with the Lord, but deal with temptations of this world. Like, I don't want to say we're living proof, but we kind of like are that. If you just focus, like if I could tell you anything, just focus on God over like anything else.
Yeah.
Matthew and I were with each other in that stage where we were just like lone kids, just focused on the Lord. And, you know, like I kind of
Working out every day.
yeah, working out every day, like having Bible studies, just all that. And then finally, like the Lord has blessed us now, and it's so weird. Like we never would have thought this would happen, but I mean, we're here now, and you can see it. So like if you're struggling, you feel like the Lord is not going to bless you with that. If you just focus on Him and nothing else, like the Lord will bless you, like He really will. But it has to be true, and it has to be like
yeah.
it can't be played. Like we didn't play it.
Yeah.
It was real and it was genuine.
And that's the thing. God knows your heart
Right.
and you're genuine. Especially even if you're not perfect, but your heart is there and you're really trying. God sees that and honors that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to kind of transition a little bit and ask a little bit of a fun question, but I guess it could be serious too. What are some spiritual mentors or spiritual couples that you guys have looked up to? Obviously nobody ahead of Jesus, but like who you can look at and say, oh wow, that's a Christ-driven couple who, you know, we want to be like, and we want to have the same values and the same principles that they live by.
Definitely my parents. Definitely my parents, because they got married young, but my dad came. I wouldn't say he was a wild child.
Yeah.
But and he was in the college scene, and he might have lived in it for a little while, but he realized, so he got out of it, and then when he got out of it and pursued God, he met my mom.
Oh, cool.
So then they and my mom's been like, she's on fire. She's like she's a woman of faith.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've definitely if I could be like them, then I would be confident that I'm
Doing
what is right.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I don't know that I have like a specific couple like in mind, if that makes sense.
There's like spiritual mentors, but a couple, that's definitely a hard question.
Yeah, it is
but
a hard.
definitely my
couple.
parents for
That's
me.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any, Anna?
Couples?
Yeah.
Famous people.
Yeah.
Like Maddie Pruitt and her husband. I really enjoy
Yeah.
Oh,
watching
I
it.
love
Yeah.
Maddie.
I can't think.
A big one for me was Tim Tebow
Okay.
Like whenever I was like first like like getting serious about this, Tim Tebow and his wife and the way that they talked about each other and the way that they talked about God in their relationship, that was a big one. And also Craig Rochelle.
Right.
I remember posting a TikTok about that, man. Did you ever see that TikTok?
I did see that TikTok.
I said something like, I can't wait for one day to be what did I say?
This with my wife or something.
Yeah, that's always been the biggest dream of mine, is like, because I do want to pursue that like ministry, and I just like my vision would to be like preaching the word, and then look over and then see my biggest cheerleader and be like, ooh, that's good. Ooh, preach it or something like that.
That's awesome.
Even the first time like I would even like talk about anything related to God, like she would just be those preacher shouts, like word shouts, like, ooh, that's good. Like, and I'd be like, yeah, she's the one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think that having somebody to look up to like that, because you could look up to a bunch of worldly people and stuff, but I think having a godly Christian couple to look up to and to be like, oh, like like I want to talk about the Lord the way that they do and the way that they have the Lord in the middle of their relationship. I want that to be me one day. So that was really helpful for me. But yeah,
so me and like, so we were long distance for like pretty much our whole relationship, but we have gotten to spend. So I spent the whole summer in California living with her brother. Yeah. And we both had to learn how to balance our personal lives and our relationship. And I guess since you guys, been together longer, how have you guys learned to balance, like you guys is both, since you're not married yet, like you guys are just dating. So how have you guys learned to balance your individual lives while still maintaining a strong and healthy relationship?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
That's something that we've had to kind of we've had to talk about that a lot. And I think it's weird because I think at first, we were both in high school and we had a routine. Basketball. All that stuff. We had that basically our whole lives, and in the time that we got together, it was late high school, so we were kind of having to transition from not only basketball and practice and that stuff all the time to now growing up also. So we had to figure out how to balance our hobbies and how to transition into being an adult. So that was even harder. And that took a hit. I think that she has some hobbies that she really likes to do. She had some passions that she really liked to do that she had to kind of take and put on the back burner for a little bit. Like she loves like worship and stuff. And in this time of her life, it's just, it's hard. But the way that you balance it, go ahead and talk about that. I mean, I don't know how you balance it.
Also too, like, I think I had to put like my hobbies on the back burner because I'm not like where I'm with my family, or like I'm not where I grew up and stuff like that, so it's definitely been a little bit harder. I think when we went to ORU, it was a little bit harder. It was easier for us to have our own individual things, but it was hard for our relationship. It was hard for our relationship because that was just a whole new setting. But I think now that we're back,
it's got a little bit easier.
I think it's gotten easier because we've been in this situation of doing like balancing our relationship and then separately, and I think now we're getting good at doing it to like putting those parts together.
Right.
Yeah, because at first, like you're in a fresh relationship, you're kind of don't want to leave the other one for too long to go do your own thing, but it's hard to balance. It really is, and that's something, especially with going to college, and we were now both in a new place where we had no idea how to manage ourselves. Better yet, like a relationship, like how are we going to manage ourselves and a relationship? That was something that we really struggled with, balancing all our hobbies and everything that we like to do. What about for you guys? Is that something that you guys struggled with?
Yeah, kind of. So when I went to California, like I had no like connections there other than her, but she had a lot of connections there. So she was balancing the fact that she was about to leave, so she was trying to spend time with like her family. So I didn't want to take away from that time, and like she had friends there too that she wanted to spend time with. So, and realized that. So I was like open to whatever she wanted to do. She wanted to go get coffee with just like one of her friends. It's totally fine. I could figure out something to do. But I feel like I'm pretty good at figuring out things to do in like an awkward situation. but now that we're here in Guyman, like now it's switched.
Right.
She has no connections, and I'm being tossed and turned, and people want to do this with me. People want to do that with me. And there's been times where I have messed up and like, okay, well, and so I'm trying to, well, I want to do this, but I want to do that. I want you to come with me, but like, it's not something that appeals to her.
Right.
So it's like, I guess we're still in the process of trying to figure out how to balance, like, how do I can't keep everyone happy.
Right.
But so it's in the balance of like, not necessarily choosing who's happy, but just, I don't know. It's a process. You don't just get it.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally understand you. That's how I am. I'm kind of like good at figuring out what to do in an awkward situation when I'm by myself, but I don't want to leave her in that situation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That is so funny. Do you agree with that? That's so accurate.
Yeah,
because since this is his homeland.
Yeah,
and this is my homeland. So like I was saying, like this is your homeland, this is my homeland. So like you had a lot of people like wanting to hang out with you.
Right.
But so it's just something that you had to learn how to balance.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say that was easy for you, or?
It was hard. It sometimes even still, but I've been getting my own connections and getting out there more. But yeah, I definitely get how you feel probably now, but it was just because anything that I did do was because of he knew the people, or because he, you know, it was hard to find like my own things to do and stuff. But
yeah, that is so relatable. That's fun. Okay, so for our final question, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. It's been a great episode. Yes. What advice would you have, or would you give to the Christian couples out there who are trying to navigate? Like, what advice would you just give them?
I would say for wanting one, to really focus on your relationship with God. We talked a lot about that. Like, really, genuinely, with all of your heart, just, like, seeking the Lord and, like, truly, truly just being in relationship with Him, and then just being patient. And if you are looking for someone with so many, you know, qualities, like someone that's patient or whatever that might be, whatever that looks like for you, really try to, like, be that for yourself. And you will attract someone, like-minded. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's really good. If you're in a relationship, it's so funny because the best advice that I could give you would do the same. Focus on your own walk with God before you even try to focus on your relationship. Because if this is something that if you really want, and you really want to try to get it right, then why try it on your own? Even with someone with a like-minded, like next to you, and you're still both trying to do it on your own, it's still not going to be what the best potential. You're still not going to fulfill that. So it's just like, why do it on your own? Pursue God by yourself, pursue God together, and see where God takes you.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, you guys did great. Man, this is a great episode.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
it
of
was
course.
so fun.
I know Anna's excited, and now she's gonna want to do more relationship podcasts after that.
She's smart. They're good. Listen to her.
That's all that she watches. So
Pretty much.
that's funny. But yeah, well, we'll leave all their socials right here. We'll just type them out, and I don't know if there's anything that I have to say. Do you have to say anything?
No, I don't think so.
Would you guys like to say anything to the camera?
I'll just say something to you guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
One more
thanks
time.
for having us.
It was really fun.
It was super
I
fun.
appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah.
I'm happy I've gotten to know Victor and you, Anna, since meeting him quite a bit.
Yeah, of course.
And congrats.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much for coming on and taking time out of your day to be here with us. I know they're really going to enjoy it. So you guys just